Welcome, everyone. You are in for a treat. You are about to learn the insider secrets on how to transform your stress into success. The 3 insider secrets you will be learning today are: secret number 1, how stress changes your character and how it can be used to your advantage. Secret number 2, how cutting-edge research can be applied to help you transform stress in your own life. Secret number 3, stress is necessary for peak performance and how to make it work for you. And at the end of the webinar today, we have a special surprise for everybody. So please sit tight for that, and you'll get to see what that is when we get down to there. Our goal today is to teach you how to perform brilliantly from the office to everyday social events and a lot more. So let's jump right in. There I am, everybody. Good morning. Michael Haskett here. I'm the creative director at Durango Marketing, and I'm thrilled to be hosting the webinar today. Now, just before we get started, I want to make sure everybody can hear and see us clearly. So over in the chat box on the right-hand side, if you could all just insert a yes and give me a yes that you can hear me okay and that everything's okay. And just to make sure that that's going to work out for you, there's a picture of what you're going to see. That's a picture from yesterday. And there are the arrows to indicate where the chat box is and where you type in your information. So you can click on the chat in the upper corner there, and down at the bottom, write your message here. That's where you're going to indicate your yes. And so that's how you can communicate with myself or with Roger throughout the webinar today. And here we come. Laura says yes, and John says yes. Good morning, Laura. Good morning, John, or good afternoon if you're on the East Coast.
Good morning.
I know we have some people registered from the States. We have some people registered, a couple from overseas. So whatever time it is, hello and good day to everybody.
Yay.
Now, want to jump in there, Roger? There's Debbie, there's Jessica, everybody saying hello. Barb Rempel. Hello, Barb. Good to hear from you. Good to see you.
Hey, Barb.
All right. While you're doing that, everybody, here's the next couple questions I'm going to get you to fill out for us. These are a couple questions that are going to really help us define the webinar today. Just give us an idea of what your job is. If you have a job, you might be retired. You might be so lucky. And where is your stress related to? Is it work, business, or is it more personal? So just pop that in the chat box as well, if you would, and that'll give us a little indication of who we're dealing with today and what we can customize our webinar for. Now, while you're doing that, I just want to give you a little heads up on webinars and technology. There are a lot of different components that we're working together today to make this webinar come to you. We've got the internet at our end and our computers. We've got the internet and the computer at your end. We've got 3 different software programs running, some Google, video, sound, and a few other items. Now, occasionally one of these components just doesn't communicate correctly with another component, temporary glitch, and that happens. And so just like when you're on your computer and you reboot your computer or you refresh your screen, that solves about 90% of the problems. Same thing here. So if you see something that just doesn't quite look right or gets fuzzy or not clear, just hit the refresh button and that might clear it up, and we'll get you back on and you'll be able to see everything that's going on. Okay, we're starting to get the answers into our questions, Roger, so you can sort of start to customize this and think about what you're going to be presenting today. We've got, hey, Wayne. Good morning, Wayne. How you doing? Work for Wayne. Joe's an investor. Sandy says yes. Myrna says retired. So we're getting quite a little selection here.
Myrna is retired from stress.
One's retired from stress, exactly. Another one from work. So it looks like we've got working with children related to work from Sandy. So we're getting quite a little bit of input here. So that's great. While you guys continue to answer those questions, I'm going to get on with the show here, and I'm going to introduce our expert, Roger Haskett. And yes, for those of you who recognize the last names, Roger and myself have the same last names. We are brothers.
We are.
We are. And we all know who the good-looking one is. I'll let you guys guess who is the oldest one out of us.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to either of those. So I think that we should have a vote at some point, maybe in the middle or at the end.
All right, we can do that. We've got a job coordinator, event planner, both at work and at home, so we're getting some more information. So let's carry on with the information here. A little bit about Roger so you get to know who he is. He's an award-winning director, writer, actor, teacher, speaker, and entrepreneur. Extremely passionate and positive individual with infectious energy that will captivate, energize, and move you. He's got a he's got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting and a Master's in Education. He's acted in over 150 films, TV shows, and commercials. In addition, for approximately 3,000, count that, 3,000 auditions in over 20 years.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Very busy. There's Roger. There's his part of his resume. What has he done? X-Files, Duet, iRobot, Stargate, The Flash. He's worked with people like Shia LaBeouf, and sorry, Shia, if I said that wrong, Matt Dillon, Ben Affleck, Paul Giamatti, Ricky Schroeder, and a bunch of other people.
I actually worked with Ricky Schroeder when my first baby was born. 14 hours after Jacob was born, I was on set filming the show called 14 Hours with Ricky Schroeder, and we're swapping kids stories because he's got a bunch of kids too. It was very surreal, and considering I had no sleep, it was even more surreal.
Okay, Roger, you're live. You didn't know it, but I switched you over. You're on camera, and everybody, there's Roger.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks to you guys for taking your time out of your busy day. I know how busy we all are. So I talk a lot and I talk fast. So if you have any questions, don't wait for me to stop. You have a chat box at the side. Just type your questions in when they occur to you. If you wait for me to take a breath, who knows when that's going to happen. All right. So we're going to start. Let's hit the next slide, please. Michael.
You bet. I'm going to be coordinating over here, so you tell me what you want if I'm not on top of it, Roger. There's the one family.
Oh, there we go, my family. Okay, so we're not quite starting yet. So there's my beautiful family, and we're in Mexico where we just got back, and if anyone who knows me will recognize that I don't quite sound like myself because on the last day in Mexico, I got some sort of sinus thing that is, dragged on for not like half a week. So I'm sounding very strange. My throat is very bizarre. I'm on cough medicine. So if in the middle of it, I disappear and you hear a ton of coughing, I'm on the floor probably trying to suffocate my coughs. Anyway, the other reason I want my family on there, if you notice the cute little girl at the end held by the cute older girl, that is my daughter held by my wife, and she's just one. So at the Haskett household, we don't get as much sleep as we were getting. So often in the midst of things, I might turn to you if we were live, but I'll turn to you metaphorically to the camera and say, where was I? What was I talking about? So that's where you guys would type in and go, yeah, Roger, this is where we were at. I've got a very, my mind is full of things and it's easily distracted. So that's a potent combination, and add in lack of sleep and, we get craziness. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on.
Oh, we got some testimonials. Okay, so we're going to be talking about social proof today quite a bit. Social proof is one of these super powerful ways of proving your worth without you actually saying it. Because I can sit here and go, wow, what I'm talking about is so valuable. What you're going to hear is so great. But, we all know tooting your own horn is tooting your own horn. So it's way better to get other people to say things about how great you are, or how great the things that you offer are. So we've got a couple testimonies. We're going to sprinkle them through the session today, just to keep giving you more social proof that what we're talking about here is actually very valuable. So this testimonial comes from a novelist who had to go to a book book reading and a book signing. And she came to one of my talks. It was one of my longer talks, a 2 hours and 15 minutes. So she had a lot of my content. And this is what she said. She had the book reading was 2 weeks afterwards, and she was terrified. She came to my talk terrified about having to go read her work and talk to people in that sort of public stressful situation. So she says, I followed many of your suggestions. It was not even, and found to my amazement that I was not even nervous. You had an enormous impact on me and my ability to achieve this lifelong goal. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. And you can find these testimonials on my website, amongst other things. They're longer. Let's go to the next one. Please, Michael. It's great. I get to order my brother around. How often does that happen? Not often enough in my life. Okay, so this is from a good buddy of mine, Dave Lever, who's a journalist and a speaker. He just got inducted into the CSP, which is like a really high-ranking speaker category. So he said, the world is lucky that you should be able to read this. I don't have to read it to you, but whatever. The world is lucky that a talented actor named Roger Haskett has stepped off the stage and into the meeting world. His energy and passion light up a room. He was by far the best speaker. And this was a national speaking conference. All right. So I was at a speaking conference where all speakers from around the world were speaking. And Dave is saying I was one of the best speakers. I wonder how much I paid him for that one. My goodness, not enough. I was amazed by his fun sense of humor, and most important, how much I learned from him, which really is the important thing. I implemented his tips, and saw a noticeable improvement in my business. Wow, they went away for a second. I hope you're going to pay attention and listen. We've got a lot to talk about, and we are only scratching the surface of what we're talking about in the next 40 minutes or so, 30 minutes or so. I'm going to be, talking all about how to become the biggest, best version of yourself you can possibly be, the most authentic, best version of yourself you can possibly be under moments of extreme stress, where it turns out some of the most important things in your life happen, right? In those moments of extreme stress where you want to be the biggest, best version, not the most shrunken, tight version. So we're just going to scratch the surface of this stuff. And when we get to the end, we're going to have an interesting offer for you to talk about how to take this information further and make bigger, more changes in your life. So moving on.
All
right. I am a 13-year-old. Not right now. I'm 13 years old. I'm in grade 9. I'm in Ladner at Delta Secondary, and I'm sitting in math class. And Mr. Sutherland is teaching math. He's got a reputation for being this really awesome teacher, which he is, and he teaches math, so he's got to be really good. And during the class, he looks over and he goes, "Hey, Haskett, you. I want to talk to you after class." And I'm like, what? Looking around, what did I do? I'm a really good student. And so this is me in grade 9. I'm a shy, painfully skinny, painfully awkward, very self-aware, self-absorbed, normal teenager, 13-year-old kid. Around my group of friends, amongst my posse, I'm the life of the party. But as soon as anyone new shows up, especially if that person is a girl, I fall apart and become like a wallflower, and I am not who I want to be. That's me in grade 9. So he says, "Hey, Haskett, I want to talk to you." And I'm like, what's this about? So I go up and I talk to him after class, and he goes, I've been tasked by the principal to find some student leaders. He looks at me and I'm like, what are you looking at me for? You want me to help you find some student leaders? Why are you talking to me? And he goes, so I want you to be one of these people, one of these student leaders. I want you to come to this lunch next week. I'm like, what? Me? Me, a student leader? I don't even know what you're talking about. So I walk away in sort of a daze. And I immediately feel stressed. What? I'm supposed to go to this lunch as a student leader? I don't even identify myself as any type of leader. So I do what I normally do, which is I get support, which is a really powerful way to go through life. It turns out neuroscience teaches us that people who have the biggest support networks are the people who do the best in life. They did this, I'm way off topic, so you're going to have to get me back on topic, but they did this study where the longest study, 70 years, they studied these people who graduated, I think, from Harvard, but whatever, it doesn't matter. They studied them for 70 years. And when they asked the neuroscientist or the scientist, the psychoscientist, sociological, whatever he was, what he learned, what that 70-year study taught him. He said, I can sum it up in one word, love. Love. He said, the people that have love in their life actually do the best. The people who have support in their life do the best. So what I did is I got my support, and I went up to my friend Lindsay, who's this great guy who's got this girl's name, but he's a guy. He doesn't think of it as a girl's name, but I do. And I said, Lindsay, I got to go to this lunch. You know, do you want to come with me, like, to help? And he says, yes, because he's my good friend and he's an awesome guy. We go to the room. We open the room and I'm shocked. I stop in the door because there's all these people. There's all these round tables. It's a home ec room and there's all these adults, like, you know, not teachers, adults. And we come in and Mr. Sutherland grabs me and I grab Lindsay and we sit down. So, you know, it's Mr. Sutherland, me, and then Lindsay. And it turns out that they're community leaders. And the principal gets up and he says, these are community leaders and we have student leaders and we have teacher leaders. And we thought it was a really good idea to create the process where you guys start interacting. So what I want everyone to do is stand up and say their name and a little bit about themselves and sit back down. And he does that and it starts moving around and I immediately freak out. I mean, freak out. Like I have a panic attack. Maybe I'm actually having a panic attack for the first time. I'm 13 years old. I can't breathe. Things like I can't hear things. Everything seems dark and strange. And as people stand up and are saying, you know, their names and stuff, I look at that like it's a firing squad. Like I look at like the guns are pointing closer and closer to me. And I am freaking out because there is nothing in my head, nothing in my head to say. What am I going to say? I have nothing in my head. And at that moment, Lindsay leans over from here. He leans over and he said, look, this is what I'm going to say. And he says this super funny thing that is so funny that I, in my state of stress, burst out laughing. Even at that heightened level of stress, I burst out laughing. It's that funny. And of course, for me now, things are worse. Way worse. Way worse. Right? Like now, Lindsay, who isn't even supposed to be a student leader, has got something to say that's going to blow whatever I have to say out of the water because I've got nothing. It's like there's a black hole in my head sucking everything into that black hole. I've got nothing. And then it comes around, it's Mr. Sutherland's turn. And he lives up to his reputation for being this awesome guy because he stands up and tells this 2-minute story about what happened to him on the way to the lunch that is hilarious and people are laughing. He's so funny. Everyone's laughing. And all I'm thinking is, what? This is worse and worse. And he sits down and I stand up. I don't want to stand up, but my body takes over because social pressure is intense. And I stand up and I go, don't do anything. But I open my mouth and luckily out comes my name, luckily. And I close my mouth and I think, sit down. Just don't do anything else. Better to sit down and have people think what a weird guy than have, you know, open my mouth and prove to everyone that I'm a nothing. Right? Prove to everyone that I'm a nothing because I have nothing in my head. And so that translates to me and to us because we're humans as if we are nothing. Right? So instead, I open my mouth and out comes Lindsay's joke.
Nice.
Yeah, Lindsay's joke. So the first thing that you need to learn is, number one, be careful who you tell your best material to, because even your friends are liable to steal it in moments of stress. Because what I learned in that moment, as I, you know, and what happens when I tell Lindsay's joke is the room bursts into laughter. That guy, Roger, he's so amazing. What a funny guy. And Lindsay's standing up and I'm sitting down and I look at him and I look away because I'm sitting down into the darkest moment of my life, right? Nice. The darkest moment of my young life. Because in that moment, I learned something very, very disturbing. I learned that stress will impact your character, that if you let it, stress will determine who you are. And when stress determines who you are, it doesn't determine for a good, usually it determines for a bad. And I saw myself turn into someone I never wanted to be, never wanted to be that person who would treat his friends so poorly, who would think that it was more important to look good than to be good. So that was me at 13, realizing that I had so Michael, thanks for doing that. So this is us. I should have done, that's me, young Roger, and there's young Lindsay. He had a lot more success with the girls than I did. I always think that there was one word to describe girls that were interested in me in high school. If there's one word to describe them, it was brave, because you had to be brave to stand up and go, I like that guy who's so weird and looks like that. So let's talk about you guys for a minute. Okay, let's talk about you. So imagine you're standing in front of a door. Okay. Now, this is a metaphorical door. There's a door. On the other side of the door are people who have the power to control your future, people who have the power to control your career, maybe even the power to control your fate. You know, you're on the other side of this door. You've come prepared. You know, you try to stay loose and alive. You've done your homework. You try to stay like, you know, energized and free and relaxed. But moments before that door opens. Oh yeah, so thanks. So and this is a metaphorical door. So on the other side of the door, the people have the power to control your future, etc. It could be people, you know, your boss, where you're asking for a raise. It could be, what's the next one? There we go, giving a presentation or sales pitch. I don't have this one memorized. Or, you know, maybe even just leading a meeting, or really challenging, going to a networking or social event. Oh my goodness, that is a challenging thing for most people. And ironically, the number one or number two, depending, reason we go to meetings and conferences and events and we go interact with people is to actually network and socialize, which is so challenging for so many people. Or let's say it's a job interview or whatever, wherever you have your stress. It could be work, it could be personal, it could be, you know, walking into your teenager's room to have that talk, you know, that sex talk, or maybe preteen, teenager's room. Wherever stress happens for you, that's the door we're talking about. And you know, we want to really honor the personal stress level. Like it can be, you know, that talk with your spouse. It could be that talk with yourself, or like, you know, there's so many different places. As a matter of fact, stress is everywhere in our lives, right? Everywhere. It's no surprise. So you want to walk into that room being the biggest, best, most authentic version of yourself. But moments before you walk in that door, things start shifting around inside you. You know, it's like you're springing leaks. It's like you're a ship springing leaks, and you know, you start to sweat in places that you never knew you could sweat. You start to second guess everything you're doing. What did I wear this for? Why does my face look like that? Is that really my nose? All these things happen, and exactly at that moment when you feel shrunken and tight and second guessing yourself. As a matter of fact, you often don't even feel like yourself. You start to have that out of body experience where you look and you see yourself, but you can't control what you're seeing. Then the door opens and you walk into your future. So that was me in 1997. So let's skip ahead to 1997. At that point, I was a working actor. You know, I had tons of credits on my resume. I had, you know, hundreds of callbacks, you know, 500 auditions at this point. I was a working actor. I'd gone through theater school, blah, blah, blah. I was a working actor. And I looked around the room at, you know, when I went to audition, and I saw other people looking like I felt inside. And we all were dealing with it. So that was back in 1997. So look at this slide of 1997. Isn't this hilarious? Oh, wait, you went past it. Go back if you can, because 1997 to me sounds like it's just, you know, behind us, like just, you know, around the corner behind us. But instead, look at 1997. Look at that Motorola phone. I had one of those. Look at that computer and look at what Seinfeld is wearing. I mean, it is a long time ago now. So back in 1997, this is my experience. And I looked around and people were in audition rooms exactly looking like I experienced. So yeah, let's go on to my resume, because this is me proving that I'm a working actor, right? Like I had all these things. I had all these things that I was doing, X-Files, like, you know, Stargate, Juno, Psych, whatever. And still I felt this way. And I thought to myself, okay, something has to change. Like either I have to learn how to walk into these incredibly stressful rooms with joy, with liveliness and excitement, with passion, with loose energy that's relaxed and alive, not shrunken and tight and feeling so much like a different person that I can't even control what I'm doing. So either that all has to change, or I have to change my job, because I really hated how it was messing with my brain. And believe me, it was messing with my brain. This sort of stuff messes with you, right? I mean, I hope that's why you're on this webinar, because you find that stress messes with you as well. So I did what I do, which is I started to read a lot. I started to study with people. And the most important, I started to teach. Because the very first passion I ever found in my life was teaching. And that is a total lie. I can't believe I just said that. Oh my goodness. The first passion I found in life was women, you know.
Really?
But the first passion, professional passion I found was teaching. Like when I found teaching, I thought, that's it. This is what I can do for the rest of my life and be happy. Like me. For the rest of my life, be happy. Like, I don't know if you listened when Michael introduced me. I have way too many things in my life that I do on a professional level: teacher, speaker, actor, director, writer, entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. It goes on because I love doing a bunch of different things. And teaching was so powerful and so passionate for me. I was like, as a matter of fact, I believe speaking is one of the superpowers. I'm going to be giving a talk sometime in the near future called, like the 5 superpowers. And teaching is one of them. I believe anyone who has the ability to teach has a superpower. Because one of the secrets of teaching is this: if you get up and stand in front of a group of people, or in my case, sit in front of a computer in front of a group of people, nothing motivates you to learn something like having to get up in front of people and talk and teach them about it, right? I mean, nothing motivates you. If you're a speaker, if you've ever done anything similar, you'll know what I'm talking about. No one likes to look like an absolute idiot when they're standing in front of people. As a matter of fact, that's our biggest fear, right? Isn't it? Like public speaking, the fear is not public speaking. The fear is looking like an idiot while you're public speaking, right? So that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Okay. So what I did is I started to create these things called Rogers Rules. Let's go to the next slide. So why did I call them Rogers Rules? So this is in a normal situation. I would get you guys to shout out the answers. It's way harder with the chat box. But, the reason I called them Rogers Rules is because I'm Roger, but you're not, right? So what's really important here is to recognize that whatever I'm teaching is just stuff that I've learned, things that I've needed to learn and that I've taught to other people, and it resonates with them as well. Like I believe that it will resonate with you. I believe this is a human issue. And if you're human, it relates to you. But anyway, I created these Rogers Rules because I'm Roger and you're not. My hope at the end is that you might cross off, scratch off Roger in a gentle and loving way, and put your own name at the top. And maybe you'll, erase, scratch off 1 or 2 of the rules and circle 2 or 3 of the ones that really resonate with you. Because really what you want to do is identify your process, which is we're going to get to in a minute. Or right now, actually. And then I'm going to get you guys to write them down. And so in an age of tablets and computers, no one writes anymore, right? Everyone types and even into their phone. But one of the things I learned when I was getting my master's in education is that actually writing, the process of writing, scratching something across a piece of paper, right? Like that's what a pen is, like an implement. You scratch it across the piece of paper and you leave a mark as a result. That visceral process, like that part that gets it into your body, is part of the process that locks it into your mind. Because when you write something down, you remember it 6, 8, 10 times better, more. Your retention level is way higher than if you just hear it, or if you actually type it, or even if you say it inside your head. What we're going to learn as we go forward is that the way to actually turbocharge your learning is to do everything out loud, everything out loud. When you learn something, the process of learning is that you take it in and it swirls around in your head, and then you say it in your words. The way you say it in your words is the actual process by which learning happens. The process locks in and then it retains, you retain it much more. Right. So I actually, when I'm talking, when I give this to this presentation to 400 people, I go, okay, now we're dictating everyone. And I walk around like my French teacher in grade 12. And, and I dictate and I look at people with, a very unpleasant, expression on my face because I'm mimicking my French teacher. So I get people to write it down. Okay, so I would encourage you guys to write it down. And what I've done is I've taken all my rules, and there's a lot of them, and I put them into 3 categories. And why do I pick 3 categories, huh? What is the reason I picked 3, I wonder? Do you know? The reason I picked 3 You know, and Michael's going, am I supposed to answer?
No, I don't know,
This
Roger.
is our
You're
first.
gonna have to help us.
Pardon me?
You're going to have to help us out here. Give us some answers.
Yeah, I'll help you. So the reason we picked 3 is that because 3 is a magic number for humans. It's a number that our brains lock onto. And when we have things come to us in 3s, we remember 1, 2, and 3. We remember 1, 2, and 3. Any other number, much harder. Even 1's harder, although 1's have a certain power, of course. But, you know, like I was on with a coach yesterday, and he said, hey, tell me what the 7 habits of highly effective people are. You know, that book, very famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I was like, I think one of them is, and he's like, that's the point. You can't remember. There's 7 of them. You don't remember. It's too many. But 3 is what our brains latch onto. So 3s are everywhere. When you look at advertising, right, is one of, you know, the place where some of our furthest thinking in terms of controlling brains has progressed, right? Advertising, how to, you know, it can be a little dangerous, advertising, right? Like how to control our brains. So the 3 I'm picking here are this: own your process. And if we're in a lecture, I'd get you to write this down, right? Like, and I would really encourage you guys to do this right now. Get a piece of paper and write this down, because I'm doing this for you. Right? I've heard this, although I do this for me as well, because I need to hear this stuff all the time. I believe that when you are in stress, you need this sort of stuff floating in your mind all the time. So own your process is the first one. And if I'm gonna get you to underline one of the words there, there's only 3, right? And you may notice all of them have 3 words. That's not a surprise. And they all start with the same word because that also helps lock it in for retention. But the word that I would want you to underline here is your. Right? Your. I want you to underline your processes or processes if you're American, right? I want you guys to find what yours are, not what mine are, although some of mine are going to be some of yours. But you need to find out what yours are so that you can walk into that room, that stressful room, whatever that metaphorical room is, having done your preparation, because that is part of the journey, right? Part of the journey is homework. This is something I'm trying to teach my 10-year-old. Oh, it's hard, especially with me as a dad who doesn't like doing homework myself. But this is part of the deal. You have to come doing some homework. So own your process, whatever that happens to be. We're going to talk all sorts of rules, okay? Lots of rules in own your process. Holy cow. Own your mind. And I love spending time on own your mind because it is the biggest bang for the buck. Small amount of work, huge amount of change, because our minds are the things that control our reality. It turns out that our external reality, not so important for us. Our internal reality, much more important in determining how we go through the world, right? Read the book, The Happiness Advantage. Where is it? It's over somewhere written down. The Happiness Advantage. I implore you, if you're going to read any book that's self-help or you know, like science-based, neuroscience-based, I implore you, make it The Happiness Advantage. Where's my book? I need to hold it up so I can show you guys where it is. It's somewhere where I'm writing in it. Okay, own your mind. Last one, own the room. Like, own the room. Now, you might realize if you break these things down, own your process is what you need to do to, you know, come to the room. Own your mind is the internal part of you in the room, and own the room is the external part of you in the room. And to me, that's covering what you need to think about: how you get to the room, how you are in the room, and how the room is as a result of you. But all of these things are only important to me right now for the fact that they create increased confidence and personal power. Right? That's what we want to create in these rooms, where it's all about you. Right? Where you don't have a lot of other things to rely on. It's just you in those rooms, you and your brain, you and your body, figuring out how to navigate through these stressful experiences. We want you to have increased confidence, as much confidence as you possibly can, because we want you to have as much personal power as you possibly can, so that you can do the things that are right for you, right? That you have the personal power to stand up and go, this is what I need. So when I do my talks, I constantly talk about checking in with what you need. And I love it when people, like, for example, right now, how long are we into this thing? We've already been at 30 minutes. I would encourage all you guys to stand up. So let's take a break right now and do this. I'm going to stand up as well, because it turns out that if you stand up, so neuroscience, I'm going to blow your mind right now, because neuroscience, in the last 5 years, we've learned 90%, 90% of what we know about the human brain, we've learned in the last 5 years, because neuroscience has figured out how to study our brain just in the last little while. We just really figured it out. So all the stuff that we've learned about our brains before, 2010 gets crammed into 10% of what we now know about the human brain. Isn't that like mind blowing? I think it is. And one of the things that we've learned in that time, in the last while, is that sitting is the new smoking. I don't know if you guys have heard that yet, but it's out there, and it's certainly something that everyone should be talking about. Sitting is the new smoking. It turns out that sitting down in our lifestyle for 10, 12, 14 hours a day, longer for some people, is the absolute opposite sort of lifestyle we should have as humans. As humans, we're supposed to be up and moving all the time. So if you set your alarm on your clock, and for every 20 minutes you get up for 2 minutes and just move around, like you just have to stand, but I believe you should move. Dancing is a really good thing to do because you can't be unhappy while you dance, it turns out. Supposedly. I haven't proven that. I've tried dancing being unhappy, and it always ends up being like the Neil Diamond song sung blue. Song sung blue, everybody knows one. I can't sing so well with my voice, but song sung blue, every garden grows one. A funny thing, you can sing it with a cry in your voice, bum bum bum, but then you start feeling good. You simply got no choice. That's the thing about singing and dancing, is that it makes you feel good. I love to use singing and dancing in my presentations because it's nothing electrifies a room like having people get up and sing and dance to, like, Don't Stop Believing or something. So every 20 minutes we get up and move around a little. And I didn't tell you why. The reason why is because it automatically bumps. 10% bump in your performance, in your concentration, in your focus. 10% automatic bump. Automatic. So if you are, going to write a test and you don't stand up every 20 minutes and move around for 2 minutes, or you do stand up for, if you're that person, your results will statistically be 10% better over here because you just stood up and moved around. I mean, who wouldn't do that? So simple. These are the things that I love. Like, who can't stand up and move around for a couple minutes? If that's going to give me 10% more performance ability, yeah, I think I can do that. Okay, so normally at this point, I have a lot more interaction. I can see faces and see whether people are like going, wow, this is really interesting, or people are going, oh, I'm falling asleep. So, I hope you're not falling asleep, but keep yourself aware, get up, move around. I can't tell what you're doing, sing, dance, do whatever, because I want you to be focused on what we're doing here, right? I want you to become the best person that you can possibly be under these stressful situations. Now, my time is running out. I only have another 7 minutes. So let's move on to the next slide, please.
We're going to go to Haslov.
No, let's move on. Let's go to the Yerkes Dodson. Let's talk about this for a second. So this is a very famous curve that describes the relationship between performance and stress. Here it calls it arousal, which sounds way better. But it turns out that they usually refer to arousal when it's on the upward. So if you consider, if you look at the graph and you consider that when you have very low performance and low arousal, you're back in this first corner where it's weak and low. And as your arousal increases, your performance increases, right? Like, this is one of the things that we know about human nature and human abilities, is that when you have no excitement, no stress in your life, in your body, in your experience, your ability to perform is not so high. Now, this is all a bell curve. There's going to be times when you're way off the bell curve and you're feeling totally lethargic and you did the best performance ever. Absolutely. And there's going to be other times where you feel absolutely energized and you're going to do a horrible performance. Absolutely. This is all a bell curve. Life is a bell curve, right? But what we know is that statistically, if you increase your stress, your arousal to a certain point, and the magic is that top of the bell curve, if you get to that point, that's where you're maximizing your performance and your in relation to your stress arousal. But the moment you go past that, you start go onto the downward slope. And if you notice on this graph, I left this one in. It's more complicated than I want, but I wanted to leave it in because if you look at the simple tasks don't matter. Like you can be super excited and still do simple things that don't require any real effort from your on your half. This is our fight or flight, right? So all of a sudden you see a lion in the jungle and you start to run, and your excitement, your stress keeps going up, and it doesn't impinge, it doesn't slow down your running. As a matter of fact, it makes it better. Right? So when we have those type of easy flight or fight type of situations, increase in stress is good. But once we bring in sort of normal human activity where you actually have to have attention, where you need working memory, et cetera, the things that we do on a normal basis, your performance takes a nosedive. And the more stress you feel, the worse your performance gets. Like, what a surprise, huh? Duh. It took scientists in 10 to figure this one out. Like, duh. Like, we knew that, but we didn't know it scientifically. We knew it in ourselves. We knew it with our own examples. Now we know it scientifically. Okay, so we want to embrace stress. As a matter of fact, what we're going to talk about later, there's going to be a lot of things we're going to talk about later, and you're going to find out what later means. Later, you're going to find out what later means later. I should have finished that thought. What was I going to say? So what was I saying there before I got sidetracked by being funny with later and later? What we're going to find out later is that, that your stress, the way you actually think about stress determines its impact on you. What time do we have right now? Maybe I'm just going to tell this story right now. So they did a study in Stanford or Harvard or somewhere. And they took this group of people who are experiencing the same level of stress, middle-aged people, and they had a control group, and then they had this group that they talked to differently. And the control group, they didn't say anything to them. They just said, you guys are. They didn't say anything. They're just in this group, right? And so they had this certain amount of stress, and the people in the control group, 30% of the people in that control group had serious health problems like heart attacks, those type of things. Some of those people actually died because they were under stress. We don't know that stress can kill you. Stress can kill, right? So the control group, 30% of them have this problem. The other group, they actually did one thing. They only did one thing to them. They said, the way that you think about stress will affect it. It will determine its effect on you. So if you think about stress as a way of your body bringing strength when you need it, bringing focus when you need it. If you think of stress as a way of helping you solve the problems that you're facing, then stress is a much more positive aspect of your life. And they taught this to this group, and it turned out that those people had zero health issues. Zero. Just
Really?
because, really. I hope everyone else is sitting there's some people writing stuff that I should be.
I've got it taken care of. Don't worry, Roger.
Okay, good. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys are writing stuff in. It's perfect. But the answer to that is really. Yeah. So we want to control the way we think about stress, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about later on, because this is, like I said, scratching the surface. There's a lot more information that we need to know to change the way we think, because the way we think changes the way we act, and the way we act changes the way we think. They come together right there. It's like a bridge, one building this way, one building that way. Both of them work. I change the way I act. It changes the way I think. I change the way I think. It changes the way I act, but it also works in reverse. If I don't change the way I act, it will change the way I think. If I think like a jerk, I end up being a jerk, right? Like, that's the way it works. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. I think I've got like a minute or two. I'm going to end with this. Okay, so own your process. Jack Nicholson. I can't not tell this story.
This is a great story.
I'm going to tell Michael's story. So
this is my story. Good one.
This is. So pretend I'm Michael with, like I'm a hand puppet. So own your process. Remember, what is the word that I get you to underline? Is the word of the three? There's only three. Which is the one I want you to underline? Your, right? Your. So Jack Nicholson. So priming is this really powerful thing that you can do anytime you're about to enter a stressful situation. So priming is all you do is you prime your body, like prime your mind, just like you prime a camp stove, or back in 1930, you would prime a car by, cranking it up. What you do is you get your body, your mind ready for what's coming next. And so we want to do it positive, but Jack Nicholson, when he's filming The Shining, what a great movie, right? What an amazing movie. He's filming The Shining, and before he is going to be filming the scene where he's going after his wife, Shelley Duvall, with an axe. He gets a bat and he starts banging like the couch and the bed, whatever in the scene. Like he just starts wailing on the different parts of the set, wailing for like 5 minutes, working himself up into a frenzy, into a lather, right? Like those are the words that we use, working himself into a frenzy, into a lather. So that when Stanley Kubrick yells action, he can drop the bat, pick up the axe, and start the scene where he's like, chopping down the door and going, here's Johnny, that famous scene. This is a great example of priming that actors use all the time, where you get yourself into the zone you need to be in before you need to be in it, so that your ability to access those emotions and feelings. Like he didn't want to be angry. Jack Nicholson didn't want to be angry. He didn't want to be mad. He wanted to be infuriated. He wanted to be livid. He wanted to be enraged, right? So to get to that level, he created a situation that was really easy for him. So this is another thing I'm going to talk about, how to make things easy for you, because that is the way that things change. Make things hard for you, it's hard to get things to change, but you make things easy for you, things are easier to change. Now, you can't do that all the time, but you can do that a lot. And I am the perfect person to talk about this, because I spent my whole life figuring out how to get things to be easy. As a matter of fact, my journey in life has been up until the last decade. In the last decade, I have totally switched from focusing on being easy, making things easy, into making things better. Right? Big change. But I went from thinking about things being easy, how to make things easy, to how to make things better. And what a change. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about as well. But now, I'm going to give it back to Michael in a moment. But before I do, the reason I'm involved, this is our very first webinar. This is it. You guys are the very first people, and not the last. These are going to go, and they're going to get very big, because I believe what I have to talk about is incredibly valuable. And I don't just believe it because I have noticed its effect in my life, which I have noticed the effect in my life totally, but it's also because I've seen the effect in other people's lives. I've taught actors for over a decade how to navigate with these emotions, and I've seen change. I've seen the change that people have had. I've talk to people interpersonally. I've coached people. I talk now. I go give talks to large groups of people, and I have people come up afterwards and say things like, I'm going to tell you a story shortly about this dental conference. But this webinar is my way of actually trying to make the biggest difference I can, because talking to 2,000 people at once is great, and you can make a big difference talking to 2,000 people at once, but I'm only talking to them for an hour or an hour and a half, or maybe I get 3 hours with them even. But that's so non-intimate, right? A webinar is intimate. This is like teaching you. This is like being in a classroom, except I don't get to see you, which is another challenge, a big challenge, but one that we can still work through. A webinar allows you to take the information that I'm giving and listen to it at your own leisure, in your own way, at your own time, and as many times as you want, listening to the parts that you want, not listening to stuff that you don't think is valuable. Although I believe the things that you don't think are valuable now are things that down the road you'll think are even more valuable. That's at least been my life.
Good point.
Yeah. So webinar, we've created this so that we can get you information that I believe will transform your life. That's what I believe. I believe this will transform your life. If you want it, if you're ready for it, if you will work for it, I will help with easy answers and with complicated answers to help solve ways to make your life better, so that you can be the biggest, best, most authentic version of yourself, because the world needs it. The world really needs it. right now. The world needs it right now. All of us being the biggest, best version we can possibly be. We are in a weird and very dangerous and dark spot in our world right now. And we need as many bright lights shining as brightly as they possibly can. And that is my reason for being part of this webinar. So, Michael, over to you.
Great, Roger. Excellent. Thanks. I'm just going to leave up here on the slide the own your Rogers rules. And I think, what did you tell me the other day? You're up to 45, is that right, of Rogers rules?
Yeah, I think it's 42 right now.
42. So it's an ongoing process. You're modifying it and updating it and improving it and adding to it, which is a really interesting concept. So what I wanted to just mention to everybody at this point is that there's a lot of, most people can spend their whole lives not knowing how to transform their stress into success. And however, you can see how just that little bit of information that Roger shared today can make the difference. So imagine how different your life would be if you have the insider secrets, not just a few minutes of them, but a whole course on them. So would you agree that this last 40 minutes was well spent today learning everything that we've covered so far? And again, small amounts of information in our limited time. Even if we had more time today, we couldn't cover everything you need to know, nor would it be practical in one session. So that's why I'm so excited to be able to make an offer to you today that you can get everything you need. And if you act fast enough, there's actually a couple really incredible bonuses that we've added on. So what we're doing is we're introducing our Transform Your Stress into Success Mastermind webinar course. And this Mastermind webinar course is the ultimate shortcut to transforming your stress into success, where you'll get all the insider secrets from the best trainer in the world, right at your fingertips and right from the comfort of your own home or your own office. So what's included? We've created a 4-series webinar course with our expert Roger that covers everything you need to know to transform your stress into success and how to increase your confidence and have more personal power.
Yeah, it's 4 now. It's going to get bigger and longer. Oh, here we are. For example, okay, let me take over for a second. So for example, the first hour or hour and a bit, these won't be just hours, is get comfortable being uncomfortable. That is one of the basis building blocks for dealing with stress. It's just to learn about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. We think of discomfort as a sign. I believe that we all think of discomfort as a sign. I just believe that almost all of us misinterpret that sign. And so I'd like to help teach people what I think is the best way to respond to uncomfortable situations or discomfort. I also, we talk about understanding what it means to be a herd species. We are a herd species, and that determines so much of what we do in our life. Is based on these deep, dark DNA strands in us that we have created, that we have as part of ourselves because we are a herd species. Also, we're going to talk about self-perpetuated beliefs because holy cow, self-perpetuated beliefs or issues are the things that we want to deal with and clear up because it is our self-perpetuated issues that determine our life. I was talking earlier about our internal and external reality. Well, neuroscience has so much to talk to us and teach us about our internal versus our external reality and who really has control. And the good news is that we do. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about how to find your bird. And you just have to be part of this to experience it. And anyone who has listened to my talk knows what I'm talking about here, finding their own birdness. It is a super fun thing that we will be doing. Let's go on to the next one. So that's all in the first hour and a bit.
And that's the highlights. Of course, it's a very in-depth conversation and topic, but that's the highlights of the webinar, Mastermind webinar number 1.
Yeah, highlights, low lights, all lights, whatever lights. Okay, next thing, fight, stay positive. Oh my goodness, this is one of my favorites, and I have a story that will kick your butt. It is so good. I love this story. So you're going to come over and we're going to talk about that, how stress weighs you down, how to create personal power, how to recognize and overcome negative behaviors that you have, your own personal ones, and how to learn that immediate reality is always going to trump whatever you've got going on in your internal reality. So whenever you're interacting with people in a social situation, the immediate reality is always going to be the one that trumps what's going on inside your head or what you're trying to talk about in terms of content. Let's go on, please.
Number 3.
Power of pretending. All right. So there's another way of talking about this, which is fake it till you make it, which is, I believe, a little negative. And I believe the power of pretending is very positive. We're all actors. All of us, every one of us. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much you can talk to tell me that you are not an actor. I will not believe it. We are actors. All of us. We act on a daily basis, often on a minute-to-minute basis. We often act to ourselves. We act all the time. So this is just learning how to harness that. We're going to talk about power posing. We're going to talk about dual reality and how to use it to your advantage as opposed to have it use you to your disadvantage, which is what normally happens. We're going to talk about Henry Ford, who's got some great philosophies and has done some amazing things, and also well, whatever. We can talk about that later. I have some mixed feelings about Henry Ford, but his philosophy of "you are what you think." If you think you are, if you can think you can do something or you think you can't, you're right. We're going to talk about that and how what he knew 100 years ago is now being proven by neuroscience. And lastly, we're going to talk about how to make your everyday stress, how to turn it to an advantage in your life as opposed to a disadvantage. Can you hear my voice? It's getting worse and worse. This is what happens when you go to Mexico and get a bug.
Yes, that's the problem sometimes of traveling.
Body language.
Number 4.
Something I'm super excited that you guys are able to watch me as opposed to just listen. When Michael and I were talking about creating these webinars, I was very adamant, and he was extremely supportive as well, saying that we need video. Having just a voice is like, having 1/8 of the communication ability. And we're going to talk about exactly how important body language is for you when you are in stressful situations. It is the last thing people think about, and it is the first thing that people notice. Last thing that people think about for themselves, and the first thing that people notice. Is there not a disconnect there? Should that not be one of the first things that you think about if it's the first thing that people notice? I think so. So we're going to talk about how to do that and how to align your body, mind, and your intention with what you're doing, so that you will be in alignment, and what you're saying and doing and thinking will work together to in social and stressful situations. All right. And there's going to be lots more than that. Lots more. As a matter of fact, I'm already thinking of webinar number 5. Well, we've already got a number 5, which is a question and answer bonus. But I'm already thinking, Michael, about webinar number 6, which is a catch-all of about 3 or 4 other Rogers rules that we need to talk about to make these 4 resonate as much as possible. So we're probably already going to throw in another bonus of another hour and a bit of Rogers rules.
Great. And that actually brings up a very important point, Roger, that this is a work in progress. And so the really cool part about it is the work in progress is going to be based on our attendees, the people that come into the Mastermind webinar course. So as we move along through these courses, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll be developing more back-end points because they'll be getting feedback from the people in the course telling us what's important to them. And so not only is this a one-on-one process where we're able to communicate with the people, but it's going to be customized to their needs and their requirements, particularly the people that get in at the beginning, because they're going to be the ones that help shape the course as we go forward. So let's quickly talk about the bonuses, because there's some nice bonuses that we've got. And Roger mentioned already, live question and answer webinar. And this is going to be, as we go through the course, we'll be answering questions on a daily basis, and in the webinars, they'll be customized to each attendee. But this is going to be a straight, full-on question and answer. And the beauty about this type of a webinar and this type of a program is that as someone asks a question, it triggers a question or a response in you, which triggers another comment, which triggers another question, which triggers another comment. And as people are combining that question and answer session together, it brings up points that people would never have even anticipated, but the value that they get out of it is enormous. A lot of times courses are just question and answer because of that value alone, but this is just the answer.
We should get on to how much things cost and finish up, because we're getting close to the hour time and some people have to go.
You bet. Let's carry on. Our goal, We've got a number of goals within the course, help you achieve success sooner and accelerate your journey. We won't go through all of these at the time, but there's a lot of information that we're going to provide in the course. This is a really important point here, but can you afford to wait the 5 to 10 to 20 years before mastering your stress, like Roger did over the course of his last 20 years, has developed this program and this information. It just hasn't sprung out of him in the last year. It's taken him a long time to bring this material forward and into a usable format. And so that's our question to you. Now, the question is...
Don't wait.
What's that, Roger?
I said, don't wait, man, don't wait. Like, you know, what's better to start dealing with these issues. My goodness, my life is so much better having dealt with these issues. All right, let's talk about how much things cost.
Here we go. What's the investment? So we could ask $9.99, and it's a valid price for this course. We're not going to do that. We're not going to offer it at $5.99. That's not what we're going to do today. What we are going to do is offer this under a lifetime membership today at $297. And there's the link that you can go ahead and order it from. And in a minute, I'll pop up a tab up on the right sidebar that you can see it. So the membership comes $297 and it's lifetime. And we just wanted to point out that down the road being in probably a short period of time, we're going to start to change this to a monthly program where people pay as they're part of the program on a monthly basis. So the lifetime membership is something that's only going to be offered near the beginning of the program. And so there's real advantages to getting in sooner than later. Something that...
And also because the price is going to go up. And this is the other thing as well. Some people in many ways, I would be very happy giving this stuff away for free because I really want people to change. But on the other hand, studies have shown that when you give things away for free, people do not value it. They just do not value it. And if you want people to actually change, you need to tie their actions to significance and that they actually need to put something out of themselves if they are going to get something back. So not only do we have families to feed, and not only is this valuable in its own right, and it is, and we have a 30-day money-back guarantee, 30 minutes or 30 days, it doesn't matter. Get the whole thing, listen to the course, and then ask for your money back, whatever. I'm convinced that you won't do that. I'm convinced that you will listen to it and go, the money I paid is well worth it because I'm going to be listening to this again and again. This is going to help me in my life. No doubt about it. But we have a money back guarantee so that if you ever are in any way wondering, should I be doing this? You don't have to worry about it. We'll give you your money back. Okay, so I have a bunch of stories that I can tell. I'm going to tell one really quickly right now because I know some of you guys are going to get off. Michael, you should pop up that thing so people can start ordering. One of the things we didn't say is the first 5 people who order will get free 30-minute coaching session with me where we can talk about specifically where you have your stress, what do you want to, what is it, your goals you want to attain, and we can sort of work towards that. So you'll be able to see that bonus based on Michael, they can see that bonus other places, can they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the story I'm going to tell is I went and I did a talk just a couple of weeks ago to a dental group. I'd been there the year before. And these 2 people came running up and sat in the front row, even though there was no one in the first 4 rows. And they were acting very weird and furtive. So I went over to them and I said, hey, what's the deal? What are you guys doing? And they told me this most amazing story. The best thing to hear, talk about priming, the best thing to hear just before I'm going to give my talk. They said, the wife said, my husband's shy. He came and listened to your talk. He has nothing to do with dentistry. I'm a dentist. He just came with me last year, but he came and listened to your talk while I went and did dentist stuff. And he came back, literally, Roger, a changed man. He has always been shy. He's an entrepreneur. He deals with clients and salespeople and with sales and with his own employees every day. It's a huge amount of stress for him every day. And what he came back from your talk and he changed his life. He said, like she said, he just did things differently. He just started to do things differently. And a year has gone by and his life is different, is better. So when we heard that you were coming back and doing another talk, I had no choice but to come listen to it, even though it wasn't for her, it was for dental technicians. So that's why they were furtive. They had snuck in, they had sort of snuck in a side door so they could come listen to hear. She wanted to hear what had changed his life, and he wanted to rehear so that he could make sure that he was doing all the things. Like, I believe that this is the level of change that we are discussing, where people, things that have haunted them their whole life, we will resolve. And if we don't, get your money back. Honestly, if we don't take it, I don't want it. I will give it to you. We will throw it at you and say, put it to something to you, not throw it in a bad way, but put it to you somewhere that is actually going to help you, because this is why we're doing this. So with that in mind, Michael, I'm giving it back to you.
Okay. I wanted to make a couple pointers there because you did say a few things. We do have a money back 30 minutes, 30 days. Our 30 minutes, 30 days means that you can take the course for 30 minutes. Don't like it, you'll get your money back. You can take it for 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes and get your money back. You get a whole month to try it out and make sure that it's something that you're comfortable with. And Roger, you wanted me to mention the bonuses again. So I'm going to just give a quick screenshot to the bonuses because we glossed over that third bonus, which is really important. The first 5 people that get registered today get a 30-minute Skype personal one-on-one coaching call with Roger, our expert. And you can see his infectious energy and his ability to motivate and his ability to sometimes get off track, but also his ability to give you important information that is going to change your life. The other bonus which we didn't mention at all is in the next 2 to 3 months, we're putting together a Transform Your Stress into Success Association, which will be a weekly Rogers World video and an in-depth examination each month of what's working now on a monthly Q&A. And we're going to give everybody that signs up to this mastermind webinar course today, we're going to give them 60 days free access to that as soon as we implement the program. But we're anticipating early summer, and as soon as that comes out, you'll get notification of that and you'll be able to take advantage of it. I'm going to screenshot back to Roger because I know Roger had one more story that he wanted to say just before we wrap everything up here. And just I know that people are rushed to get back to work and are busy with their days. Roger, the one that you might want to just touch on just as we sort of wrap up here is the information here from Terry Brock. And I just put it up on the board there. It came in just a couple days ago. This is current. This is what people are saying right now about Roger. So maybe you can give them some background on who Terry is.
Sure. Actually, I love this one. My goodness. When I saw this, I got back from Mexico and saw this. I was so, pleased. So Terry's this great guy. He is, he's a Hall of Fame speaker. So in the States, there's not that many of them. So he's as a speaker is incredibly well respected. And he came and saw my talk when I gave it to the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers last year in December.
So wait a second, you talked at the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers?
Yes, that's actually exactly where I talked. That's an organization I'm part of, and they invited me to talk at the conference. I was very honored, and I hope to be invited back, actually. But so Terry was in the audience. Terry said something really interesting near the end of it. I was like going, okay, well, our time is almost up. I've only got a couple more minutes. And he was like, no, take some more time. And everyone was like, yeah, take a little more time. We're only going into lunch. It doesn't matter. Take some more 15 minutes if you need it. And he shut it out. Roger, we want 4 hours. We don't want 1 hour. We want 5 hours. And so this is actually one of the reasons I started thinking about a webinar was exactly that comment that he made where he was like, what we're getting in this hour is only enough to make us realize that we want more. And which is legit, because when I used to teach this to actors, for example, I taught, we had tons of time, 3-hour classes, 16 or 11 classes, whatever it was a term. Like I had, tons of time, 33 hours to teach people stuff. You can see some real transformation when that happens. So, so Terry said this amazingly wonderful thing, which it almost makes me blush to read it, but I'm an actor, so I won't blush. He goes, yes, he combines a mega genius mind with superb acting skills and delivers a practical, powerful message to his audience. I was glad to get there. I think the last part is the most important, a practical, powerful message to his audience. Like that's, what motivates me is I'm interested in making a difference in my audience, in the audience that is listening. So I think that, if we have any questions that we can answer, I'd love to answer any questions. We're already over time. So I understand that most people will most likely be wanting to get off and get on with other things that they want to do. But please take this time to sign up. We'd love to have you on the Mastermind webinar course. And if you want to come back and listen, we're doing another of the free, exactly like this, but will be slightly different because it's live tomorrow at 10. So you can feel free to come back if you want, or if you know anyone who would really benefit from this, have them sign up for tomorrow. That would be awesome. And you can do that through your email. Just pull up something from us, and I'm sure that you can find it in your email. And if not, we can send something to you guys. But yeah, we'd love to see you on the mastermind, or we'd love to see you tomorrow with, or send some other people our way.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, Roger. Everybody who registered for today's webinar will get a replay link in their email box, probably within an hour to 2 hours. It's automated, so it goes out automatically. And in that replay, you can watch this webinar again. It'll be a replay. Some of the people, depending on your internet connection, will be able to see the chat box. Some won't, but you'll be able to see the video and watch it again. And that only goes out to people that have registered. That's not a published link for anybody else. And in there, if I'm not mistaken, we've added a little note on a PS that there is one more, we call it an encore presentation, which is tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. So if you didn't catch enough of today, or you have somebody who would be interested in catching it tomorrow, you can do that. So Roger, are you ready to close out? I think that okay, let me just finish off here. We wanted to thank everybody for attending today and staying with us to the end. Since you're committed and you spent your time with us here to the very end, it tells us that you're someone who is dedicated to success. So it does seem like it's perfect to try this program out and give it a shot. Again, you've got the 30-day guarantee. It's not for you. It's not for you. That's great. You'll be happy you did. We know you will be happy you did. So on the link on the right, and there's the it's in the chat box. DurangoPublishing.com/beat stress is the link to go to. And if you do that, we'll see you in the members area. It's going to be a very exciting time. We're going to have a lot of fun in there. We're going to have lots of great life-changing information that people will look back on and say, wow, I wish I'd done this years ago. And it's just going to be so fabulous. So we wanted to thank you again for your time today. And we just look forward to helping you with your stress, transforming it into success.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. That's us. We're out for this, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Bye now.